This serial killer is obsessed with the 7 deadly sins, and these 2 detectives have 7 days to stop him, but they don't know that one of them is part of his twisted plan. Detective Somerset is set to retire in 7 days, and Mills has just moved to the city with his wife to take his place. When they first meet, they don't get along. They'll have to tolerate each other until the week is over. Without further ado, the countdown begins, from Monday to Sunday. Monday. The detectives are called to a crime scene. There they find an obese man dead at the table, with his hands and feet tied. While Somerset examines the body, Mills won't stop talking, so Somerset sends him to interview the neighbours, clearly implying that he's being a nuisance. On the way out, Mills confronts Somerset for excluding him. He feels unappreciated and wants to be taken seriously. The medical examiner determines that the man was force-fed for hours until he passed out. Then, the killer kicked him in the stomach until it burst. Somerset comments that, due to the nature of the crime, he doesn't think it was random. It must mean something. He believes there will be more murders. He also says this isn't a good first case for Mills, which angers the younger detective. But the captain insists and Mills is reassigned to another case. Tuesday. They're called to another crime scene. A notorious lawyer who often kept criminals out of jail has been murdered in his office. At the scene, they find the word greed written on the carpet and a photo of the lawyer's wife with her eyes circled. The captain informs Somerset about the new murder. He also tells him that plastic pieces were found in the obese man's stomach, which piques the detective's curiosity. Somerset returns to the original crime scene. He investigates further and notices something strange behind the fridge. He moves it and discovers a note from the killer on the wall, next to the word gluttony. Somerset shows the note to the captain. It reads, "Long is the way and hard that out of hell leads up to light." He was right. This is just the beginning. There are 7 deadly sins: gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, pride, lust, and envy. Somerset doesn't want to get involved because he retires in 5 days and just wants to leave the city. Still, he visits the library to gather useful information for Mills. He looks for books on the deadly sins and makes a list, highlighting The Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri. He copies important passages and leaves everything for his partner. Wednesday. Mills moves into Somerset's office, though the older detective will continue working alongside him until he retires. Suddenly, the phone rings. Tracy, Mills's wife, wants to invite Somerset over for dinner that night. He agrees. During dinner, Tracy doesn't understand why Somerset never married. He explains that he's not a pleasant person, which Mills agrees with. Then, the apartment starts shaking. It's directly above the subway, something the real estate agent forgot to mention. Somerset laughs, and soon, Tracy and Mills burst into laughter too. After dinner, the detectives, who now get along better, talk about the case. Mills shows Somerset the photo of the woman with circled eyes. This makes Somerset think she saw something, or that she needs to see something she hasn't noticed yet. So that very night, they go visit her. They show her crime scene photos and ask if she notices anything strange. She points out that one of the paintings in the office was upside down. The detectives return to the lawyer's office and inspect the painting, but find nothing. Mills thinks the killer is toying with them, but then Somerset finds fingerprints on the wall where the painting had been. He takes them to the lab, and they discover the prints spell out, "Help me." While they wait for forensic analysis, the detectives discuss the meaning of their work. Somerset feels it's pointless. They just collect evidence in case it's needed in court. It's like picking up diamonds on a deserted island and saving them in case of rescue. But Mills is more idealistic. He doesn't agree. Thursday. The lab results reveal that the fingerprints belong to a man named Victor, a well-known drug dealer and child abuser. The police head to his apartment to arrest him, though Somerset suspects he isn't their killer. He believes the murderer has a greater purpose. They storm Victor's apartment, and Somerset was right. Not only is Victor not the killer, he's actually the 3rd victim. He's tied to his bed, missing a hand, decomposing, with the word sloth written on the wall. The detectives look through photos the killer left behind and discover that Victor has been lying there for a whole year, and suddenly, shockingly, he moves. He's still alive. Mills is shaken, and Somerset tries to calm him down. But just then, a photographer shows up at the crime scene and snaps a picture of them. Mills lashes out and aggressively kicks him out. By now, it's clear that Mills lacks emotional control. He reacts impulsively, while Somerset remains calm and rational. But the big question is, who was that photographer who got to the scene so quickly? At the hospital, they can't interrogate Victor because his brain is mush, and on top of that, he bit off his own tongue a long time ago. That night, Tracy calls Somerset, asking to see him the next morning. He's the only person she knows in the city, and she needs someone to talk to. Friday, Tracy and Somerset meet at a cafe. She reveals that she's pregnant, but hasn't told Mills yet because she's unsure about keeping the baby. She's worried about the living conditions in the city and doesn't want to raise a child there. The way Mills will eventually find out will send chills down your spine. Back at the office, Mills is restless. He's tired of sitting around, waiting for the lunatic to strike again. But Somerset thinks he's wrong to call him that. He doesn't believe the killer is crazy. On the contrary, he sees him as someone meticulous and, above all, patient. Still, Mills disagrees. He says that having a library card doesn't make you Yoda, a line that suddenly gives Somerset an idea. The detective figures the killer must have read books about the 7 deadly sins. So Somerset bribes a contact in the FBI to get information on people who've borrowed such books from the library. They obtain a list, and one name stands out: John Doe. Immediately, the detectives head to this person's listed address. They knock on the door, but no one answers. Suddenly, they spot a man down the hallway who, upon seeing them, pulls out a gun and starts shooting. A chase ensues until the suspect knocks Mills down in an alley and points him with a gun, but strangely he doesn't fire. He decides to leave him alive and flees the scene. Was that part of his plan? The detectives return to Doe's apartment door and argue over whether or not to break in. Somerset tries to explain to Mills that they don't have a warrant or a legitimate reason to be there, since the information was obtained illegally. But Mills is furious and kicks the door down. To justify their presence, he detains a homeless man and gets him to say he was the one who called the detectives because Doe seems suspicious. Without further delay, the detectives search the apartment. Somerset finds the spaghetti cans used to feed the obese man, Victor's severed hand, and around 2,000 journals. He also sees a portrait of a blonde woman. Meanwhile, Mills discovers several photographs of the victims and suddenly finds one of himself. It turns out that the photographer who approached them at the crime scene was John Doe. They had him right in front of them and let him go. But that's not all. The forensics team finds no fingerprints anywhere in the apartment. Suddenly, the phone rings. Mills answers. It's Doe himself. He says he admires them and didn't expect them to find him, but now he'll have to move up his plan. He assures them they're in for a big surprise. Saturday, penultimate day. The detectives receive a tip from a shop. Doe came by to pick up a custom-made bladed sex harness. Later, they're informed that the blonde woman from the photo has been found, but she's dead. They arrive at the crime scene, which turns out to be a brothel. This is the sin of lust. The woman is dead, and a man is completely distraught. Doe forced him, at gunpoint, to use the harness to kill her. Shaken, the detectives go to a bar to clear their heads. Somerset believes there will be no happy ending, but Mills says he'll be happy if they catch Doe. Somerset replies that if it all ended with Doe, he'd agree, but the truth is, Doe is just a man. Mills asks him why he's become so apathetic. Somerset confesses the real reason he wants to get away. He can't stay in a place that accepts apathy as if it were a virtue. He says, "It's easier to lose yourself in hatred than to face life. It's easier to steal what you want than to earn it. It's easier to beat a child than to teach them." Mills insists he's talking about mentally ill people, but Somerset argues he's talking about everyday life. Mills still disagrees. He prefers to believe in a better world. He also thinks that, deep down, Somerset doesn't really believe what he's saying. He just wants to believe it to justify his retirement. This conversation presents one of the film's most fascinating debates. Mills constantly suggests that the crimes in this city are committed by madmen, but Somerset believes the criminals are just ordinary men. This raises a disturbing question. Is evil a natural part of human nature, or is it the product of social and environmental circumstances? Afterward, the detectives return to their homes to spend one last night before everything is resolved or everything falls apart. Sunday, the final day. The day does not start well. John Doe calls 911, confessing that he did it again. The detectives arrive at the crime scene. It's the sin of pride. The victim is a woman. Doe disfigured her face and then gave her 2 options: ask for help and live the rest of her life with a ruined face, or take some pills to end her suffering. She chose the latter. Now only 2 sins remain: envy and wrath. Somerset returns to the station, but a man follows him inside. It's John Doe, his shirt stained with blood. Mills yells at him and forces him to the ground to arrest him. While Doe speaks with his lawyer, the detectives discuss the reasons he might have turned himself in. They discover that he had cut the skin off his fingertips, which is why no fingerprints were found in his apartment. He has no work history or bank records. The only thing they know is that he is wealthy and well-educated, but something doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense for him to surrender before completing his masterpiece. The lawyer comes out to speak with the detectives. There are 2 more hidden bodies, and Doe is willing to take them to them, but under 2 conditions this same afternoon at 6 o'clock, and only the 2 detectives can accompany him. Somerset and Mills hesitate. The lawyer adds that if they agree, Doe will write a full confession and plead guilty, but if they refuse, he will withdraw the offer. He can plead insanity, opening the possibility of going unpunished and being released for lack of evidence. The detectives suspect he's planning something, but they can't risk him being acquitted, so they ultimately agree. The hour arrives. The detectives get into a car with Doe in the back seat. Along the way, they talk with him. Doe speaks very calmly. Mills tells him he's nothing special, that no one will remember him in 2 months. But Doe replies that they haven't seen the full act yet. He assures them that when it's all over, people will barely be able to comprehend what he did. However, when Mills insists that his victims were innocent, Doe loses his composure for the first time. To him, they were sinners, and he merely turned their sins against them. He says, only in a world this miserable could you say these people were innocent and not laugh. And that, according to him, is the problem. He sees a deadly sin on every corner, and everyone tolerates it because it has become common, trivial, but no more. After this, he claims people will follow his example. This film works as a modern divine comedy. In the book, Dante journeys from hell to paradise, guided by Virgil, and along the way, he sees souls being punished in ways that reflect the sins they committed. Here, Dante would be Mills, passionate, impulsive, emotional. Virgil would be Somerset, wise, experienced, guiding him through the horrors, trying to keep him safe. The Divine Comedy was written in a time when religion was the moral compass and God the supreme judge. But in the era of Seven, advances in science and philosophy have pushed humanity to build new value systems outside of religion. Doe seems to blame the evil in the world precisely on that loss of absolute morality. Without a divine presence to punish sinners, he sees himself as an instrument of justice. They arrive at a desert area, surrounded by high-voltage towers. There is nothing in sight. They get out of the car. In the distance, a van appears. Somerset goes to intercept it. The driver stops, gets out. He's a delivery man with a package addressed to Detective Mills. He says a guy named Doe paid him $500 to deliver it at exactly 7 p.m. He hands over the package and leaves. Somerset opens it. What he sees shocks him. He immediately runs back toward the others. Simultaneously, Doe tells Mills that he admires him, that he has an enviable life and wife, Tracy. Mills, confused, asks how he knows about his wife. Doe confesses that he visited her that very morning. He tried to play the husband, to live his life, but couldn't, so he took a souvenir, her head. Somerset frantically yells at Mills to lower the gun. Mills is confused, doesn't understand. He just wants to know what's in the box. Doe insists he's a sinner too. His sin is envy of Mills's ordinary life. Somerset tries to stop him. If Mills kills Doe, Doe wins. That's his goal. He wants Mills to become Wrath. To provoke him even more, Doe tells him that Tracy begged for her life and for the babies. Mills begins to cry. He didn't know his wife was pregnant. Somerset pleads with him to hand over the gun, but in a moment of desperation and rage, Mills shoots Doe multiple times, completing the final 2 sins, envy and wrath. After the incident, Mills is taken away in the back seat of a police car. For his part, Somerset has decided not to leave the city. He remembers the words of writer Ernest Hemingway. The world is a fine place and worth fighting for. But the detective adds a personal comment. I agree with the second part.